morning. This is very exciting.
I know, I'm very excited. Thank you for having me.
I am here with Erum Zubair, campus recruitment specialist at Deloitte.
Yep.
And I keep hearing your name. I was telling you earlier, like on a daily basis. So this is certainly a treat for us and for the students at Baruch. So thank you so much for doing this, Erum.
Of course, we're very excited to be here. I mean, myself and Deloitte as well. I think this is great for the students to get a little insight scoop on what recruiting is all about.
Yeah, and you're also an alum of
I
of
am, so I'm very biased towards my Baruch students. I always say it. I'm like, I love Baruch, I went to Baruch, so I am there like most of the fall, more than any other school. I'll let you guys know that. But it is one of my favorite schools.
Yeah, and we love you. We love having you on campus as well. And I know our students are very excited about this Facebook Live because I've gotten a lot of emails already about it. So if you're watching, please like, share this, or if you have questions for Erum, if you have questions from me, please make sure you're putting them in the comment box, and we'll be sure to answer those to the best that we can. So Erum, it's OCR season. On-campus recruiting is happening right now. Yep. Your favorite season. And basically, students are wondering, like, what is it that you're looking for when it comes to, in terms of like getting chosen for an interview at Deloitte, in terms of the resume, in terms of the cover letter?
Yeah, so OCR is a really big season. I mean, I'm sure you guys all know all the big four and the mid-sized firms, they're on campus, and we're looking for some internship positions, some full-time opportunities. Our opportunities tend to change every year. You know, typically we are recruiting for our summer intern positions as well as winter interns, and then full-time, and all are for the following year. So I'm sure that you know, and the students know, that everybody kind of recruits a year in advance, and that's something to really keep in mind. And just think ahead when you are in school to make sure you are applying and trying to get recruited a year before that internship or full-time opportunity would potentially start. So when I am on campus, you know, when I start doing my events and start collecting resumes and cover letters, I really look to see people that are very involved on campus. So, you know, of course, we have all of you guys that, for example, for audit, you know, you have all the accounting majors, and you guys are all going to be CPA eligible and all have the minimum and great GPAs. That's something that I see right off the bat. You know, everybody at Baruch, they do meet the requirements that we are looking for. They are very qualified. So at that point, we have to go beyond that and see, you know, your background, what experience you have so far, whether it's an internship or something part-time that you've been doing. And then on top of that, just being very involved on campus in terms of the clubs that you guys have. Like you said, I went to Baruch, so I'm aware of the high volume of clubs that are available for students to take advantage of. So I definitely look to see that at least you're a member of one or two clubs. Maybe you are on the board as a vice president or something at a club, and I think that looks really impressive on your resume. It really shows us that you're able to go to school and maintain a good GPA, and at the same time do something on the side that has nothing to do with your grades and is not required, and something you're doing.
You have a life outside of
that. So I love seeing that, and I also, you know, we definitely look for interns, something in the past that you've done. We don't expect you to have a lot of experiences at that point because you are younger. While for full time, yeah, you know, we want you to have a few internships there since you are getting on board right away. And of course, I always look at the skills and interest section. This is something I tell my students during office hours, that sometimes people just leave that part out because they think it's not that important. But to me, that's something that differentiates you. So like when you write, you know, what you're interested in other than just the typical work, extracurricular activities, you know, whether it's traveling or photography, some sort of workout classes. Like I just like to see that. It kind of makes you a person versus just a resume. And of course, list down the skills that you have, whether you've been certified in different things or been trained in different tools and softwares. That always looks good. I know you mentioned cover letters, so I think that's kind of different for every recruiter. I personally don't always look at cover letters unless I do require them for some sort of position. My go-to is the resume, and then, you know, I always do skim over their cover letters, and if they are very different and genuine, I appreciate that, but I am sure you see that sometimes students end up just using the same templates and kind of sounding almost robotic. And recruiters know that. So I think it's important for the students to just be aware of that. So like if you are going to have a cover letter, make it different and make it really about yourself and what you want to tell us that isn't on your resume. So that's how I appreciate cover letters, but I definitely rely on resumes a lot more than I do on cover letters sometimes. But again, some recruiters require it, and they think that's very important, and they want to look at both at the same time.
Right.
So it does vary. My personal opinion is that if I could get that from your resume and from a quick conversation with you, that it should be good to go versus an additional cover letter.
Just because based on the volume you deal with as well.
Yeah, I mean, at Brook especially, I'm sure you guys know the volume it's a lot, so it's hard to be on top of everything. But if someone does submit a cover letter, I want to read it because they took the time to create it and submit it. So I don't want to waste anyone's time and effort. So I do like to review them, but I definitely think that put all of that in your resume. If you're just putting your resume in a paragraph, it's not going to help that much. Like make it a little different. And put more about yourself that you couldn't fit in that one page of your resume.
So differentiate yourself using your cover letter, something different, or maybe even going more in detail.
Exactly.
On what you have
which you couldn't do on your resume.
Exactly, because you only have one page, and that's like pretty.
Yes, please keep the resume.
Sure.
That's my other advice.
Keep the resume to one page. So leadership is important, GP is important, extracurricular activities, and also if you're gonna put interest in your resume, make sure you can back it up. Like just don't put yoga if you've gone to yoga once.
Yeah, make it something you're passionate about.
And you can talk about.
That's something you can talk about because I've had interviewers be like, oh, that person likes to golf, and they'll have a whole conversation and they don't really know what it's all about. So definitely know what you put and be able to talk about it when you're, in an interview or a professional setting.
Yeah, and another big part of recruiting obviously is networking. So what emphasis do you place on that, and what exactly do you look for?
Yeah, networking is huge. I don't think we can emphasize it enough. Most of the opportunities that I see candidates get and the connections they make is out of networking. So even when you're at a career fair, just talking to myself or the professionals that I come with, that's considered networking. So definitely brush up those skills. I know Brooke does a great job with having those workshops and giving tips and tricks to the students and how the best way to network is. Have a good elevator speech, and it doesn't have to be something that you have like memorized and so robotic. It could just be more genuine, and you're just having that conversation with whether it's a recruiter or a partner from Deloitte or whatever other company you're chatting with. But it's so important. That's your time to just talk to this individual from a company and let them know who you are and a few highlights about yourself and what you're looking to get out of them and the relationship you want to build. And keep it small. Like you don't need to have it be like a 3-minute speech. It's not going to go well. You're going to lose their interest and attention. So just make sure when you are talking, it's a genuine conversation going on. It's authentic, and you have a dialogue going on versus just like you throwing all these things at them. Like I have this GPA, I major in this, I did this and this and this. You want it to be more of a conversational networking speech. Yeah, I think it's very important. That's how I kind of put a face to all the resumes. So when they actually come up to me during my events and network with me and my professionals, I'm like, oh, and I look at the resume, I'll remember like this is that person because they came up and spoke to me. So definitely network at every event. Don't just like come and give your resume and leave. That's not going to be as impactful as you actually sticking around and chatting with us. And then if you do have our business cards, always try to ask for them. I always carry them and try to bring them to campus. And if I have them, I will give them to you. And you can always send out a thank you note, a very short and to the point thank you note, I would say, just to be like, it was great talking to you, and maybe throw in something that we mentioned and discussed that kind of differentiates you and helps me remember you, since we do meet a lot of kids.
So many,
and that would just kind of help build that relationship. So it all starts from networking, and I've had students do that and send over an email, and then we're in touch, and they get looped into an interview process and eventually get hired. It happens every time, so it's not something that's unrealistic at all. So definitely network and go to the workshops that they offer. It's going to be helpful.
Definitely, and I think one of the things that you said was having conversation, because oftentimes I see a lot of people practice this pitch and they have to get it all out, and at that person you at that point you've lost the connection with the professional you're speaking to. And one of the other things you talked about was the pitch. So what do you think a student should include in the pitch?
Yeah, this is something I've done a lot at Brooke. I know a few students probably watching remember this little session we did. We focused in on having a good elevator pitch. And I think that's to my point before, like make it short. Like if you're having that pitch, like just remember that you might be in a setting where if it's a recruiter at a career fair, there's a whole line of people waiting to talk to them. So don't try to take up 5 minutes of their time. Like just because you want to be fair to your peers and the other students that are there with you. So keep it to like 30 seconds. Start off with introducing yourself. Quickly say your major, what you're studying, and then just a quick summary of like, this is what I've done in the past and what I'm looking for. Do you have this kind of opportunity? And of course, always wrap it up by asking a way of keeping in touch. So if they have a business card, feel free to ask. If you can email them later on and say you look forward to talking to them soon. So that's like a really quick way to just wrap it up and have that conversation. And you wanna, like you said, you don't want it to be robotic and have a memorized speech, because you'll always be at a different setting. So you could be at a career fair, and then you could be at a more casual, maybe pre-night reception before your interview. So you want to adjust what you're saying accordingly. You can't really say the same thing every single time, because at a certain point, we're going to know what your GPA and major is, right? You don't need to keep saying that. It could be more about your background, about why you're so excited about Deloitte. So definitely adjust it to the audience. That's something I think people forget sometimes. They just stick to the same one. Whether you're just having a one-on-one conversation or maybe in a group setting, you want to be aware of your surroundings and maybe make it a dialogue where everybody else can pitch in when you are in a group setting. So yeah, that's my advice, I guess. Make it short, make sure you're adjusting it to your audience, and always have a way to close it out, and make sure you keep in touch afterwards as well.
Yeah, and I think that it's a great idea to have like a group, in a group setting, because that you're playing off conversation. Also, the recruiter has a chance to see.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you don't want to be in a group setting and you're just talking about yourself the whole time and not giving anybody else a chance to speak. Because you do, like, that's kind of you showing that you're not being considerate of other people, and that happens sometimes because I think people get a little too excited and carried away. So just make sure you're letting everybody else pitch in, and if someone else says something, if you say something, I'm like, oh, that's really interesting, I did this, and just like go off of it. So it just becomes a more of a conversational networking session versus just throwing facts and things out there.
And one of the great points that you made was about context. So context is going to be super important, as opposed to if you're in like a meet the recruiter session versus if you're just having donuts with Deloitte professionals. Very different. And the other thing is, like, if you're talking to Erum versus if you're talking to a tax partner about something very technical, you probably won't have that conversation with Erum. So very, consider your audience, consider who you're speaking to, consider the context.
Exactly.
Yeah. So soft skills, right? Definitely something we focus on at GCMC. What do you look for in terms of soft skills?
I have a few of my go-tos. I think since specific to Deloitte, we are a client-facing firm, so our interns and our full-time hires, they do end up going to clients and working with them. So communication is key. I need someone that I can onboard that knows how to just network and be able to chat with me. And I kind of get that when we go to these events and you're able to talk to me. I can tell how you are having a conversation, how you could communicate. If you are a very strong presence and a positive attitude, that does show. So definitely brush up on those communication skills. It has to be number one for me. And then I guess adding on to that, of course, you want to be able to be a good team player. That's so important. All of our work is in teams, so you are going to be working with people all the time. So we need to know that you are able to not only communicate with them, but you know how to be a good team player, you know how to be a good colleague, be supportive of each other, and just give examples of how you work in team environments. And I know group does not shy away from that. We have all those fun group projects that we do throughout our 4 years of group. So you should know at that point how to work in a team. And it comes with the struggles and the benefits, and that's not something that we just deny. We know it could be hard sometimes, and you can talk about that, the one time that you struggled on the team or the one time that you did really well on a team, but make sure you know how to work on a team. That's really important. And I guess another thing would be being able to be very adaptable. So adaptability is key. Deloitte is, and even like the big four in the industry, we're always changing. There's always things going on. I know right now we have a huge buzz around audit innovation, and things are changing around that. So you want to just be able to adapt to that. You want to be able to like train yourself and take that extra step to like research on whatever's going on, and make sure you are, you understand what's going on. So when you go to the client, you know what to talk about. If they do have a question, even if it has nothing to do with them, you should be able to like talk to that. And a good thing you could do by doing that is being adaptable. So I feel like, making sure you're up to par with the trainings and research, and just making sure you're able to adjust to the changes that happen in the workplace and even in the industry as a whole is really important.
And one of the things that we do have a lot of international students that apply to Deloitte and the other Big Four as well, and I think adaptability is a big thing for them because they're coming from a totally different environment, and sometimes they don't even think
realize
that
they're doing that.
Exactly, realize that how huge that is, and so make sure that you're emphasizing that as well, and showing how you've been able, like even in a few months, like some of you are coming for like it's been a few days you've been here,
and I've heard great stories with them, whether they're like learning English as a whole new language and like already working, and that's a great sign of adaptability, and that's something you should definitely speak on and not just like leave it there.
Exactly.
I think that's something not everybody could do it. Yeah, definitely don't take it for granted. Like you said, Brooke has a huge international population, so I'm sure they have been through that struggle and been able to like understand how to adapt to different, a different country and a different language, and that is something that you can take to the workplace and just use it at Deloitte or at a different job, because those are the skills that you build up, as you go through all these different life scenarios that happen.
Yeah, awesome. And one of the other things is that you spoke about teamwork and the struggles, and I think a lot of times students shy away from talking about the struggles. They're always about, we got the A, and it turned out so, it was perfect in the end. And I always say the struggle, if you can show that you're somebody who is able to deal with struggle and you can overcome it, that's an A plus. Because any team, you're gonna have conflict, you're gonna have struggles, and that's something that recruiters are looking for. So don't
shy away from it. We know there's and that's a question when we ask, what are your strengths? And they have so much to say, and they're like, what are your weaknesses? And they don't want to talk about anything. And you don't want to shy away from that. We know everybody, it's not a perfect situation, it's not a perfect person. I've been on teams where you do struggle sometimes, and that's how you kind of become a better team player almost. Like, you know how to work with that kind of in that environment and understand how to overcome that obstacle and use it to become a more positive team player. So give those examples. I think it's a great way to show how you could work against a challenging environment and make a good situation out of it.
And you said about the question, what's your greatest weakness or what's your weakness? How do you recommend students answer that question?
I think you should be honest. I mean, definitely talk about things that are relevant to the job you're interviewing for. So you're gonna want to just give random strengths and stuff that has nothing to do with the job.
Work too hard.
or I'm a great shopper. I don't know. You hear crazy stuff sometimes, and it's great that you're so good at that, but it's not really relevant to what we're asking. So when you are answering any question, I guess just make sure you're relevant to what you're interviewing for and who you're talking to. But be honest. With strengths, I always hear people talk about how they're a good team player, how they're detail oriented, how they're very organized, and that always shows. I would say stick to 2 or 3 main areas, and then be able to kind of talk about it.
Have examples.
I remember when I used to interview, I always had 2 solid ones, and I would give examples of it because you're throwing these buzzwords out there, but you're not really telling us how were you detail oriented and how were you organized in this situation. So maybe have 2 key things about yourself and be like, this time I was in this group project and this is what I did and I was really good at it. And even with weakness, have those 2 things. And I've always said stuff with 2 weaknesses and showed how, or even if you talk about 1 and shown how this is what I struggled with, just a semester ago when I was in school, and this is how I decided to work on it, and it's still in progress, and I'm doing a little better, and I'm excited to see how I go long term. So be honest and say that's one area that you're not the greatest at, but you're working on it and how you're working on it, and we like to see that because you're able to kind of talk about yourself and reflect on yourself and really understand what you're good at and what you're bad at and how you could, not bad, I guess weak at, and how you can use it in the workplace or in school.
Right. I mean, because everybody has weaknesses. Everybody has blind spots as well. And nobody's expecting you to be perfect, but to be honest about it and also to show how you deal with challenges, because I think that question really addresses
exactly.
that. So that's great. And in terms of mistakes you see students making, what are some of the biggest ones?
I would say spelling mistakes, which I'm so surprised because I know these resumes and cover letters go through so many channels of proofreading, but here and there it's not too many, but here and there I'll see some resumes with just little minor mistakes. And
audit and tax, you need to be
attention
to detail.
And as a recruiter, we're so detail oriented, so I'll spot it right away. And even my professionals, my audit professionals, they know how to catch the errors. So you definitely want to read that resume and cover letter. a few times, make your coworkers read it, or your friends, whoever is proofreading it, go to the Star Center and have them check it one time. Like GCMC, don't just submit it without anyone else looking at it, because even if it's no spelling errors, you might have some grammatical errors, and that shows too, because that's one of the basic qualifications we want to be able, a part of communication is your written and verbal skills.
Right,
so.
and something spell checker.
Right,
It doesn't catch,
sometimes, you think it's all done with Microsoft Word spell check, but things like grammar, they don't always catch it, so a second pair of eyes never hurts to look at your resume. So definitely do that, and I think that's like the biggest one. And I guess when my other one would be when you are events, I know the Big Four is very, very present at Baruch, and it gets a little crazy when we go to career fairs. Like, everybody wants to talk to the recruiters. My word of advice would be, like, you don't always have to talk to the recruiter. Like, you have this long line. I know I talk to other Big Four recruiters, I see it, like, everybody wants to talk to them, and I get it, because you want the recruiter to remember your face, and I appreciate that. But we bring professionals with us from our company, and they're taking the time out of their day from their clients to come talk to you guys. So, and they know the job much better than a recruiter does, because they're doing it every single day, and I end up connecting with them regardless at the end of the day
to get their opinion.
So even if you didn't touch base with me, but you talked to them, they're gonna tell me like who they met and who were like people that left impressions on them. So don't just think you have to talk to me or with the recruiters. I think it's really important that you actually connect with the professionals, because they will answer your questions about, what is a day-to-day in audit or tax or advisory, what are your struggles, and this is what I want to do, and they'll be able to tell you, like, yeah, maybe you are a really good fit for this. And we all collect resumes, so like I'll have it still, so don't think that just because you didn't talk to me, it won't get to me. I still see you guys there, I still see you guys waiting, but just make sure you are kind of taking advantage of the fact that professionals are coming with us and talking to them as well, because they are taking a lot of time out of their day just to come to talk to you guys, and you want to take advantage of that.
And I also like that you said, ask them, like, what are the challenges you're facing, what are the struggles you're facing, because it's a two-way street. I mean, Deloitte is looking for the best candidates, but also you want to find something that's a great fit for you. And it's great to have those conversations with professionals, find out about what exactly the job entails,
so you have a good
know what you're getting yourself into. The other thing I want to talk to you about was pet peeves, right? Because I'm sure you have some when it comes to OCR or even recruiting students specifically. What are some of yours?
I mean, I would say it's the spelling. Yes, I know that's like a mistake I see. It is kind of frustrating because I know you guys have all these tools to make sure everything's fine. So just double check on that. If you're submitting that resume for final submission, we want to make sure it's 100% clean and appropriate and whatnot. So that would be one of the biggest ones.
Any networking pet peeves?
I don't think so. I mean, like, it comes back to the students just kind of being considerate of each other. I know at career fairs sometimes I can see people getting a little aggressive with each other. Never with us, because they want to be professional, but in terms of like cutting the line or whatnot.
And
like,
that shows teamwork.
It just shows like
so
I know you guys are there for a limited time, and it's hot down there, and it's you want to talk to the recruiter, but it's not going to help you kind of like shoving your way and pushing other people out of the way. And when you are, because I try to talk to people in like groups when I'm at career fairs, I can like cut down the line quicker. And you don't want to be that person that's kind of like over talking everybody else. I think that's another pet peeve. You should be considerate of your other students. Like, it shows that, I'm sure you have great things to say, but wait your turn, and once you have your turn, let someone else take the turn. So just be patient and be considerate. I think that will go a long way.
See it as an opportunity to collaborate instead of compete with your with the students. And you also talked about presence earlier, and I wanted to just come back to that for a second. Like, in terms of how do you, like, when you say like a student has great presence, what is that exactly?
Yeah, so I guess that's something I know. It's not an interview. We're here just to casually talk to you, so please don't be nervous, especially at like these casual Donuts with Deloitte event or the career fairs or our info sessions. Like, we're here because we want to come here and we want to talk to you. So definitely don't be nervous. This is the time for you to absolutely not be nervous, because it's not the interview yet. So when you do come up to us, have a smile on your face, be positive. Like, just don't look so, I guess, miserable and like, you just got back from a long day of classes. I get it. Like, I've been working all day too, but just be happy to be there. And then when you are, talking to the person, of course, have that firm handshake. Make sure you are being respectful and just introducing yourself and still having that positive attitude and saying, I guess, meaningful things, not just like a waste of time conversation.
Right.
Like, you really want to be there and this is what you want to do. And I guess like when you always know that you're going to go to this event and who you're going to meet, right? So be ready to talk about what you really want to talk about. So like, do the research, and you know, maybe we have an intern position available that caters to you. So be like, hey, I checked that out and this is what I was looking at, this is what I have a question about, like, do you think I'll fit this? So just know what you're talking about. So we know, like, you know, you did your background research and we know you're here for a reason. And yeah, like, just be confident. You know, you guys are great students and you guys have great qualifications, so don't be nervous that, you know, you won't get the job or get the interview yet. Like, this is just a conversation, so be confident in yourself, be confident in all that you've done in terms of your past professional experiences as well as extracurricular activities, and with that positive attitude, I think it'll make a good presence.
And also realize that Deloitte is coming in campus because they see a lot of value in you.
Of course, yeah.
And not being shy in terms of sharing that, what it is that you're bringing to the table.
Exactly.
Not holding back with that. And so basically, once you sort through all the resumes, it's the interview. You call students for an interview.
The fun stuff.
That's the you know, like, really the meat. What is it that you look for in an interview when you're speaking to the student?
So when it comes to interviews, I guess our process is I make the selections with my professionals who have kind of been very involved with Erum. So we have our like lead recruiting partners who are audit partners or tax partners, advisory partners in the firm. They'll help me make selections and then we put them through interviews. I typically don't interview, recruiters don't interview the candidate. We put them through interviews with the business because that's who they will be working with. So they typically on campus meet with, it varies, either one or two professionals, and then if they do well, they get moved forward to a second round either in the office or through the video interviewing system, and that's typically their final round of interview before they receive an offer or no offer. So you know, I do talk to my professionals, and I guess these interviews are typically very behavioral focused, so a lot of questions about your background, about your personality, your skill set, what you could bring to the job, and you know, why you want Deloitte. Typically 30 minutes each these interviews go up to, whether it's phone, in person, or video. That's usually our standard 30 minutes. So yeah, these interviewers are really looking just to make sure that you're able to sit down and have that conversation, and you are they have your resume, so you know, it's fair game to ask any question that you've listed on your resume because that's what you've provided. So know your resume. I see this so many times when people put things on their resume and it's just something they just put, not that they're lying about it, it's just something that maybe they haven't done as much, and like they'll ask questions about it and they are at a standstill and they don't know how to answer it. So whatever's on your resume, make sure you just review it that one more time in before the interview and be able to answer all the questions with either examples or stories or how that got onto your resume. So be definitely 100% prepared about yourself, and then the next step is just being prepared about the company. So at that point, you know, the recruiter should have told you what you're interviewing for, and you obviously know what company you're interviewing for. So do the research. You know, I know with Deloitte, you know, we have a great website about all the opportunities, all the careers about Deloitte that you could quickly look at, and we have a section just for students, so it's very easy to read and understand everything. So take advantage of that. Like, everything's out there, and if you happen to know who your interviewer is, that varies. Like, sometimes we tell you if it's like confirmed ahead of time. It's different on every recruiter, I guess. So if you do know, just research that person on LinkedIn. You know, most of the times they are there. So you'll have this good background on the company, you'll have this good background on the position you're going for and the person you're chatting with. So I think that kind of makes for a good combination. You know about yourself, of course, you know about what you're going for, and always come prepared with questions. I think that's a big one that some students just kind of forget sometimes, and the interviewer will be like, Erum, I asked them, did they have any questions? And they were like, no, so I ended the interview 5 minutes earlier. And you don't want to end the interview early. I think it's nice to take it. Yeah, it's not always a good sign. Sometimes, you know, maybe you're just not talking, it's okay, but most of the times it's good if you're like getting the full 30 minutes or maybe a few minutes extra. So definitely come prepared with questions, and you don't have to memorize these questions. Sometimes, like, I've seen students pull out like little notepads and they have it listed, and that's totally fine. And another tip with that is I've seen students actually on the opposite end where they have these questions and they're kind of just attacking the interviewer with questions. So you don't want to be aggressive either. So just make sure you're in that spot where you're comfortable asking and making sure you're asking appropriate questions and giving them a chance to answer before jumping to the next one, and just not interrupting when they are talking, because they shouldn't be interrupting when you're talking. But yeah, have like 3 to 4 questions prepared, maybe 5, just in case they hit like 2 of those, so you have some backups, and write it down so you don't have to be nervous about memorizing them. And of course, ask the ones that you really genuinely want to know the answer on. I know you could Google like, what are some questions to ask, and people have the typical ones, and those are great, but like we hear them all the time. So if you're genuinely like passionate about Deloitte and interested in Deloitte,
you will have a lot of questions.
You will have a lot of questions, and just ask what you really, really want to know. Even if maybe the interviewer might not know the answer, that's okay. He'll be like, I'll get back to you. Or she'll say that. But yeah, be genuine in every aspect, I guess, of that.
And I think a lot of times as well, what I see is that students come in or for a mock interview and they're just expecting me to just fire questions at them. And at that point it becomes like an interrogation, right? It's like you're on one side and the question. Yes. And then you said there's the other side where it gets too aggressive, where they have their questions and they're just firing it at the recruiter.
Right.
So how do you get to that sweet spot where it's a conversation, like a nice conversation, and it's it feels like, okay, this is going well.
Yeah, so in terms of, I guess that's a lot on the student at that point. So like I said, don't have like a whole like 10 question list that you want to attack them. It's probably just going to be 5 to 7 minutes that we leave for the portion of questions. So take it one at a time, and when you ask the question, let the interviewer answer. I've seen when people just like kind of start interrupting and being like, oh, what does that mean? Or what is, like, let them finish. And then if you have a follow-up, then wait to ask the follow-up. If you don't, just be like, thank you, and move on to the next. Be like, I have another question. Do you still have some time? And ask like that. So, just be appropriate and be mindful of when they're talking, and be mindful of their time. You don't want to keep asking questions when you know time is ending. So you can always ask, like, do you still have time for another question, and see what they say. And I think that will make it less interrogating and more of just a conversation.
Correct. Because I think that's like a nice feeling when you walk out of an interview and you felt like, okay, you just had, and
you had a good conversation.
I had a good conversation.
You learned a lot. Your questions were answered. I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, and one of the other points that you mentioned was in terms of resume, being able to speak to each of the points that you have in your resume. And I think bringing examples, because your resume, again, it's one page. You can't put everything there. You have to be able to back it up with evidence.
And that's what the point of that is. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's something else I think students forget. They just think like, okay, I have everything listed, and we'll ask them a question and they'll say that exact bullet that they have, and I'm like, no, I know that already, so tell me a little bit more. So yeah, when you are doing all this research, review your resume too, and have those examples and those stories that are related to each of your bullet points ready to talk about.
Yeah, and your resume, again, it doesn't tell someone why you did something. It doesn't show those, like, the reason behind some of the decisions you make. Why did you come to Brook to do accounting?
Right, and that's the purpose of us networking and the purpose of the interview, so you can actually have that dialogue. So don't just sit there and list out your resume to us. That's your time to like almost shine, like talk about yourself and talk about all these great things you've done. So don't just end it with whatever you have written down already. Just talk about it.
Because it's only one page. Like,
it's only one page. There's so much more to you, I'm sure, in the past 2-3 years that you've done at college. Like, this is your time to talk about it, so don't shy away from it.
Awesome. I just want to check in with the guy if we have questions coming in.
We do.
Do we have questions?
We have questions.
A lot.
So the guy,
I'm ready.
Okay. So the first one goes, I'm very interested in audit and enjoy learning the work experience from professionals. Are there other ways you would recommend for students to learn the field where they want to start their career?
Yeah, I think the best way, like stated, is talking to the professionals, because they do their job, every single day. They are the best point of contact to have. So if you have that connection already, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's in person, definitely take advantage. I know some students go out to like coffee chats with our professionals. A lot of my professionals definitely go out to Brook. It's right here, so it's very easy to meet them. Sometimes they come and talk to me, and I'll get coffee with them here. So that's a great way to just talk about it. And other ways are, do your research. You can always, our job descriptions and our profiles about each area it's available online, so you can definitely do that research and then come prepared with questions when you are meeting us or emailing us. So everything is available to you in terms of what you would be doing, in terms of what's online. And then whenever you have questions about that, you could either email the recruiter, email whatever contact you have, and ask them. And of course, be mindful of their time and let them know, like, take your time to respond, or if you have time to meet or have a phone call, please let me know. And that's always.
Could you share a particular experience of when you really remembered someone?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think this kind of ties everything together with what I was saying about having that elevator pitch and just being a good networker. I always remember the ones that come up to me with, you know, a huge smile because I know they've been waiting for so long, but they're still so excited to see me, and it's just nice because I always feel bad that they're waiting so long and then they're ready to talk. So come up with that smile, be very positive, and just quickly talk about what you are looking for and a little bit about yourself, and then throw in a fun fact in there. I love hearing some fun facts. It just kind of makes me like the memorable part, I guess. When they tell me a little bit different facts about themselves. I know in the past I had someone talk about how they're on the soccer team at Baruch, and I remember that because I met that person the next time, and he said how he just played a game and he won. It was nice because we had that.
That's a separator.
So when I remembered, I was like, okay, that's the guy that was the soccer player who's interested in advisory. So I kind of just correlated it together. So you know, I know a lot of you are the same majors, you have the same qualifications. So throw in that little fun fact. I think it'll definitely help me remember you, and also just have that positive attitude. It makes a big difference.
And one of the things I always say to students, like if you start a pitch, for example, with I am a student at Baruch majoring in accounting, you've suddenly clumped yourself with everyone else. So that doesn't,
there's a lot of accounting majors out
there. So do something different. Show, you know, different in a good way.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like a sport. There's a lot of other things where people talk about their hobbies sometimes, or a cool volunteer experience they did. I know when I go in the fall, I've had some students be like, oh, I just got back from traveling here. And, you know, I love to travel, so I like to hear those stories. So that's always nice too. So you can throw in anything cool and fun, and of course, you know, appropriate and relevant at the same time.
Because it's showing your soft skills, it's showing your communication skills as
exactly.
well. So next question again.
Okay. There's several questions here that are asking about specific opportunities, and I feel like Erum's touched on that. She said you have to do your research. And Deloitte has all that information online, so I'm gonna skip over those. So they can actually just Google all of that.
So in terms of our opportunities for the fall, I will be posting all of the things that we're recruiting for by hopefully end of August, early September on Star and the graduate. Exactly. So you guys will see that, those postings, and it'll tell you exactly how to apply. You apply on the career link or Star Center, and then you also apply on Deloitte's website, but it'll give you all the directions. So just give it 2 more weeks, I guess. Once you guys are back on school, you'll definitely see those postings, and that's what I'll be recruiting for on campus.
Okay. So the following question is, I'm gonna edit it a little bit, but what do you think interns at Deloitte should continually work on?
That's a good question. So from my, I guess, experience with interns and just talking to them and getting their feedback and getting the team's feedback, something, since you are still in school, something you can continue building on is like skills like your Excel skills. You know, those technical skills are so important, because it's only going to polish up for your full-time opportunity. Because if you are a former intern or you're coming back as a full-time hire, we expect you to be even more stronger. You know, you've been with the company already, and you know what it's all about, so you should come back and be ready to go. So take that year in between, or whatever time you have in between before you start full-time, to focus on the technical skills. You know, polish up your skills on Excel and other computer skills, as well as just knowing about the function that you are going for. So, and for example, if it is audit, you know, brush up on whatever's going on in audit in the news at Deloitte. Make sure you're up to par. And just because you're not at Deloitte anymore for that year or 6 months doesn't mean you should disconnect yourself. Definitely keep up with whatever's going on at Deloitte in the industry, because when you come back full time, you know, you should be ready to talk about those things. You don't want to just be, you know, under a rock for a year and just like focusing on school and don't know anything, and then you're coming back and you're like, okay, ready to work. Let me research the past year. So definitely continue doing those technical skills, the computer skills, you know, keeping up with whatever's going on in the industry, and of course continuing to build those connections. Keep in touch with everyone that you meet during your internship, whether it's other interns, other Baruch interns, other school interns, and also like the team that you were on. So Deloitte professionals, like you get to interact with Deloitte partners and principals and managing directors, so they are more than happy to keep in touch. It's something that you want to have, someone that you want to, you know, stay continually talking to throughout the year. So when you come back, it's you know, you have familiar faces and they know you still, and you'll have that foundation. And if things do change, or if you have more questions, you could have someone as a point of contact. So
And have coffee with group professionals.
Yeah,
You're right here in New York City.
And that's the biggest advantage you guys have. You guys are so local. Like, you're just 20 blocks down from us. It's so easy for us to just meet with you guys, whether we meet midway or come down or you guys come up. It's so easy for you. Like, there's a lot of schools that don't have that opportunity. So please take advantage of that. Being a local school is really on your end a positive thing. So take advantage. You know, we're all here. Everyone is on clients across Midtown and downtown. So you guys could definitely meet with professionals that are in the New York City area.
Yeah. Perfect.
Awesome.
Okay, so I think we're good. Thank you all for participating. Thank you all for being here. Please, again, like, share this if it resonates with you. If you're part of a club, make sure that you're getting this out to other club members. I have one last question for you, Erum. Obviously, you're a Baruch alum. You said you're biased, but in your interactions with Baruch students, what stands out for you?
I think Baruch students are just extremely polished. I just know this also because I went to Baruch, so I know all the trainings and the workshops that are available. It's really great. I know a lot of other schools have them too, but I'm glad to see that these Baruch students take advantage of those. So when I do go to campus, they're ready to go and they're just 100% prepared most of the times, versus like me letting them know, like, this is what you should be doing and this is how you should be being trained. Like, I think the school does a really fantastic job, whether it's the grad center or it's Star Center. You guys have so many opportunities for them to brush up on these skills, and it's really nice to see that these students take the time out of like their class schedules and work schedules to go to you guys and take advantage. So I definitely see that. I see that your communication skills are very polished, and I see that your resumes are the right format. Believe it or not, sometimes a lot of students don't have the proper format for resumes, so you guys are already a step ahead when you see that. So yeah, my advice would be, like, you guys are doing a great job with taking advantage of your resources at school, and it shows to the Big Four, so just make sure you guys are continuing to do that and continuing to take advantage and being strong performers.
You have one more question?
Yeah. Somebody snuck one in.
Sure.
In regards to the last question that you answered.
Yeah.
She said, is there any other software, I guess if you want to get more technical, other than Excel that you think I can focus on, stand out?
That's a really good question. I am not familiar with all of the audit softwares, so I can get back to you on that. I can do my research and let you know, but I know the typical, the Microsoft tools that we have, use all of them, and there's a bunch within audit, advisory, and tax that you can use to help polish up. So there's a whole list, I feel, not extensively, but I can definitely look into that and get back to you. I guess I'll reach out to you.
Yeah, certainly. And we can put it on our Facebook. Yeah, and we can put it on the Facebook page as well. And so when are you going to be on campus, Erum?
I'm actually going to be next week. August 29th
okay.
is my
She's
first
so excited.
event. I know, I'm so excited. I'm getting back to all of my campuses, so I'm really excited to see all my students. We are planning to host, I believe, a Donuts with Deloitte session on August 29th. So we'll have a table. Yeah, it's next Tuesday. Just welcoming you guys back to campus. I'll be there with a few professionals, just there to talk to you guys, give you a donut or coffee, and let you guys know what we're going to be doing on campus this fall.
Yeah, what a great way to interact with you and all the other
I know, I'm
Deloitte
very
professionals.
excited. Yeah.
But thank you again so much, because I think Deloitte professionals are always coming in campus, and one of the things I say to students, like, they're always so willing to give back.
Of course.
And of course, you as an alum as well, we really appreciate all that you do.
Yeah, I love being at Baruch, and I know, like you said, professionals love giving back, so we are very excited to head back this fall.
Yes, and you're a rock star. So thank you so much, on behalf of all the students who watch, and on behalf of all the students who are going to watch this later. Thank you so much. All right. And thank you, Nagai.
No problem.